What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only Tesla stock and what you should be looking after for the future. I'm also going to do some in-depth technical analysis and break down what the technicals are telling us, what the news is telling us about the overall market in Taiwan right now, and how all of this may affect Tesla going forward. Now, before I break anything down about this, though, before I get into any more details, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Make sure you take none of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire Tesla community as a whole. And the last thing is, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks, each worth up to $3,000. And the best part is, any could be a free Tesla share. It's a limited time offer. The offer ends in just 6 days. Check it out before they run out. But that's out of the way, let's get on with the video. Tesla was down 0.3% for the day overall, and the real question is, how is Tesla going to move from here? And what actually happened in the morning with the video I released? Well, let's start off with yesterday. Yesterday, I released a video and I said Tesla may bounce tomorrow. And that is very similar to what ended up happening. We did get a really nice bounce off this 176 level. We started to push up for the majority of the day. However, I was actually thinking that we would open here and then like push up. That was what I was predicting from yesterday. But instead, what happened was we gapped down first and then we got the push up, right? And then that's the reason why I, uploaded this video right here. I had a very important warning for everyone because of the situation in Taiwan. And I told you all that, look, if Taiwan did get invaded, Tesla would crash, the whole market would tank, and the news was very, very concerning in the beginning as tensions were continuing to rise. But I told you that if there was no invasion, there's also the chance that Tesla would get a nice bounce and try to push up to fill the gap. I was just very uncertain in the present time because of how things were unfolding. But I told you guys you have to watch this like 180 level. If it managed to like break above that and hold it, then we had a good chance of trying to fill this gap. And that is what ended up happening. However, once again, I just want to warn everyone that yes, I have this important warning, and that is we have to be cautious during times like this. Tesla is a company that is highly associated with China. They've been outsourcing there for many, many years. And if the unthinkable happens, that's going to be very negative for them. As of right now, at the time I'm recording this, nothing too horrible has happened. It hasn't escalated way too badly or anything like that. And I really hope it remains that way. If it does remain that way, there is still more potential for Tesla in the markets to push up temporarily until CPI comes out on Wednesday. But first, I want to break down now what's happening with the markets, what's going on with the news, what's going on with everything, and how this can actually affect us. Now, when it comes to SPY, I just want to note that the option chain is not crazy tomorrow. We have very few calls and puts expiring. So because it's this low, this tells me that a lot of calls and puts will be opening tomorrow. Tomorrow in the morning, especially. I think there's going to be a lot of hedging going on, lots of 0 day to expiration options. And what happens is when a lot of them are opened up in a very short period of time, the market makers start delta hedging. And when they do this, they start pushing the prices up or down depending on what is open. So if too many people start buying these like calls, right, a lot of the market makers may start to hedge, which could help push the market up more, or the same thing with the puts. But if way too many puts are being bought, right, maybe the hedging causes some temporary downside, but at the end of the day, it also incentivizes the market makers and the institutions to pump the markets again and close us above max pain. That's what's been happening for the past couple of days, the past few weeks. SPY also closed above max pain. I will explain this in a more simple manner later on and break down what this means for the market for tomorrow, because I do believe the technicals are favoring more upside. It looks like the market's going to try to keep going. But then again, we also have to be very cautious at the same time because we did see this news, I'm sorry, right here about how tensions are just continuing to rise. We don't know exactly how this is going to play out, and there is a chance this could be a big bluff, or it may not be. And that's why we have to be very open-minded, no matter how this ends up playing out. All right, so if there's an invasion, just hypothetically, I just want to note that citizens within both countries will be affected, especially the country getting invaded. They're going to be hurt the most. Everyday people who do not want to cause harm to others. And it's very sad to just imagine this, right? It's very horrible. Nobody wants more war, or at least the majority of people. And when I say this, I just want everyone to be prepared. Now, if this happens, if there is some kind of invasion, the odds are it's going to lead to massive supply chain disruptions in the USA, because now the US is going to start cutting trade with China. And on top of that, they're going to be more sanctions, which is going to cause, once again, prices to go up for commodities and other assets and also other products in general, which would help drive inflation up to some degree. Now, on top of that, the world depends heavily on China. If a lot of countries start cutting ties with them, they start, doing all these things, it's going to negatively affect their trade as well. Believe it or not, there's an opportunity cost to that decision. So, what does this all mean? If there's an invasion, economies are going to get hurt by this. And on top of that, the stock market is going to temporarily crash the moment it happens, if it happens, right? But if they don't invade, right, there's still a good chance the market's going to hold up. It could even continue to rally like how it did today, and it's likely going to continue to just hold up and do fine for the time being. Now, I want to note to everyone that in my opinion, the odds do favor them not invading as of right now. The odds do favor that because there are a lot of American military troops that enter Taiwan now to help defend it. And President Biden did say the US is going to militarily defend the country. So once again, the odds do favor, in my opinion, that they won't end up invading for the time being, but I'm always open-minded to the possibility of it still happening if they are driven that far to do so. All right? So I'm prepared for anything, but I'm just saying for tomorrow in particular and also the next few days, I think the odds favor them not invading. And we'll have to wait and see how this ends up playing out. It could happen later on, but just for now, I still believe that because the US troops are already there, uh, the odds of it happening tomorrow are just slim. It's very unlikely. Now, when it comes to the news, I just want to note that we have a lot of Fed speakers coming out for tomorrow. We have Harker and Kashkari. And what else is very important is we have Janet Yellen speaking tomorrow. She's going to be speaking with a lot of global regulators on the banking situation. I want you all to remember the fact that Yellen caused the market to drop on FOMC, but then after that happened, she started pumping the markets. And then since then, every time she spoke, the market pumped. And I believe that she wants to cause as much comfort and assurance for the banks as possible. She's been saying countless times that the banks are going to be fine. They're very secure. People don't have to worry. I think they have a quote here from her, I think right here, about how, it's going to be fine for the banks. We don't have to worry. She said, right here, the banking system is just sound and strong. And I believe she's most likely going to continue saying these things. So tomorrow around 11:30 a.m., we could see the market try to pump more. I think the odds do favor that because of how Yellen has been. And yes, this is great for the bulls. It's awesome to see the market rally, but you always have to be open-minded because tomorrow's Tuesday. It's going to be the last full day until CPI comes out Wednesday before the market opens. All right. So if you're going to be securing profits, right, and if you can't trade during the pre-market, then tomorrow is going to be your last chance to secure those profits, start hedging and getting ready for CPI coming out on Wednesday morning. Make sure you're prepared for this because CPI could be a make or break for the rally. Now, one thing I want to mention is the fact that there's a lot of shorting going on as well in the markets. We're actually seeing the same amount of leverage right now from a lot of institutions and other hedge funds out there at the same levels of August 2022. And we did actually see the market end up tanking after that. And on top of all of this, I know it's been a while since I talked about this, but if you look at the smart money and dumb money charts right now, the smart money, if you want to use that term, institutions, investors, big investors, they're selling and selling and selling. They do not trust the rally. But the dumb money, the quote unquote dumb money, if you want to use that term, I'm just referring to like retail. We're just going to say retail instead of dumb money, by the way. Retail is buying. They're buying and buying and buying. They're continuing to just buy the dips. They're turning more bullish. They did sell a little bit last week. Now they're actually starting to buy again. So now that retail is buying and institutions are selling, this makes me a little bit concerned because when this tends to happen, we tend to see the market slow down. That tends to happen like around here, also like around this moment right here during this rally. It was the smart money that was selling during this last rip we got, and the dumb money or the retail, they were actually buying up right around here. Right here, same thing, right? Retail was buying, the institutions were selling. This was the peak back in like around August time. And we're seeing something similar now, right? Retail's buying, the institutions are selling pretty hard. They could know something about CPI. Who knows? Who knows? But it's just a big red flag out there. That's the reason why I personally, if I see the market pumping tomorrow, I'm just going to secure all the profits and just wait. I'm not going to be playing CPI this time around. Sometimes I do. I always properly hedge before doing so. I make sure to not risk too much. I use money I'm willing to lose. But I just want to note that be very, very careful now approaching CPI. When we see things like this approaching CPI, it could mark a reversal coming soon. Maybe CPI is going to be hot. Who knows? But I don't truly know, so I'm not going to make that claim. I just don't know for sure. It's just a real possibility. Now, something good about Tesla is we got a lot of volume today. We saw lots of buying pressure again. A lot of people started buying the dips after Tesla hit a very important fib level and support. Short volume has been on a bit of a decline. It's been on a downtrend from this point here for the last couple of days, which tells me that so far, the people who are going long are now starting to gain control over the stock price. That's the reason why I do believe Tesla has some potential to try to rebound. And if we exclude CPI, if there was no CPI in the picture, the odds would favor Tesla holding up or even trying to continue to push up. I just want to note that for the next couple of days, especially as we're getting closer to earnings. But I will break down Tesla in the charts in a couple of minutes. As far as the data goes, price pairs ratio is a little bit flat right now, getting very close to where it bounced before. That tells me that Tesla is going to likely perform very close to how the market is performing. Deutsche Bank is bullish on Tesla, reiterating their buy rating. For Tuesdays, Tesla tends to be green about 51% of the time, a bit of an improvement compared to last week. So we could actually see another green day for Tesla. And on top of all of that, the short volume is actually dropping on a daily basis. We're actually seeing less shorting compared to before. Now, I do have some concerning data for this quarter. Going into the Q2 earnings later on, the inventory levels of Tesla are continuing to skyrocket. This once again tells us that they're not getting as many sales as before. They're slowing down a bit. Inventory levels are going up. Now, somebody asked me, is it because they're producing a lot more cars? Well, one thing you have to consider is the fact that it's been on an uptrend for quite a while. And what tended to happen during these times of high volatility is we started to see a lot of Teslas getting bought up. Also, their inventory levels were very low just about 2 weeks ago. So in 2 weeks, did they really increase production to such a huge degree that they now have hundreds and hundreds of cars once again being stuck in the inventory? I don't really think it's that. I'm starting to believe that this has more to do with demand slowing down, and that's why Tesla was pushing for more price cuts. Now, as a result of that, there are more analysts out there who are saying that Tesla's going to likely continue to give us price cuts. Unfortunately, if that's the case, I'm going to be worried about those margins, their profitability. Not too confident about how good it's going to be for Q2. Many analysts out there are continuing to say that Tesla's a great company, EVs are going to grow, but they did mention that they believe Tesla's going to be giving us more price cuts because inventory levels keep going up, and we're not getting the same buying of Teslas as before. The same thing's happening to the entire used car market, also for cars in general. So please be very, very careful. Now, one of the reasons why the situation involving Taiwan is super important is because Tesla is continuing to expand their ties and relationships in China. They just built a mega factory in Shanghai. Now, from a technical standpoint and from a fundamental standpoint, this is technically bullish news because this actually will help Tesla improve their mega pack production. They're going to be improving their outsourcing. They're going to outsource more products for cheap. It's going to help with their margins and other factors like that. But the bad news is if the US has negative ties with China, if something really bad happens, then this could actually negatively affect Tesla big time. That's why it's very important that Tesla's outsourcing to countries like Germany and Mexico and the USA and etc. And I really hope that Tesla continues to outsource. However, at the same time, I'm hoping that nothing too negative happens in China, and as long as that's okay, then Tesla should be fine. Until then, we'll just have to wait and see. Elon Musk retweeted this: 45,000 superchargers around the world and counting. Once again, huge congratulations to Tesla. Now, anyways, let me talk about the charts just real quick. I'm just going to talk about a couple of them in this video, not too many. SPY right here looks more bullish than bearish. We're about to get this crossover on the 1 hour time frame. I just want to note to everyone, once again, if there's an invasion, this is going to crash temporarily. There's going to be a big crash, a big drop coming if there's an invasion. As of right now, at the time I'm recording this, there's no invasion, and that's the reason why the odds do favor the bulls right now. Now, just so you guys know, SPY needs to hold this 408 support. If that fails, the super important support is around 406. It has to hold 406. If it fails there, it's going to come down to start filling some gaps. But we held it quite nicely today, and the odds favored the bulls going forward. Now, what do I believe is going to happen? I think SPY is going to continue to rally and retest 411. It might slow down there. I think Yellen might help pump it. Then it might trade a little sideways, but we should still see another green close approaching CPI. I think the market is still very excited and we're getting a lot of buying pressure still. I want to note that SPY is pumping on low volume, so be very careful going into CPI. But until then, right, we have all of Tuesday left, and I still think SPY has more momentum left to continue pushing. As for Tesla, the more bullish case would be a break above 185. That's where we have some major resistance right now. If we break it, this thing could retest the 1 hour 50 EMA at 188. If we break that, then 190 to 192 could come. And the more bearish case for Tesla would be a break below 180, a retest of 180 and a failure. Then we'd have to bounce around 176. We have to. If it fails, then it's going to come down even lower, right? That's the bullish case and the bearish case. What do I believe is going to happen though? In my opinion, the odds favor Tesla might just cool off a little bit, and maybe Yellen helps this thing pump up. If Yellen does pump the markets, especially tech, Tesla has the potential to retest 185 and break above it, get to 188 to 190 pretty quickly from there. The odds do favor more upside as we are getting more buying pressure and we're actually continuing to see volume on Tesla, but I'm always prepared for anything. However, for tomorrow being the last day before CPI, I think Tesla might finish filling this gap and try to get all the way up to about 188 going forward. AMC is up almost 7%. She got good volume as I predicted. I believe AMC is going to try to get closer to 5.4 or so, but then she might slow down afterwards. And we should get a flat close at the very least, maybe a somewhat green one, depending on the markets. NEO had a possible head and shoulders developing. I'm not as sure about that now because we're getting very close to CPI. I don't know if CPI is going to help it form a right shoulder or if it's just going to fail at this point. However, until CPI comes out on Wednesday, I think NEO is going to hold above $9, just kind of chop around a bit and maybe retest 9.26. And we should close a little bit green on NEO. The technicals are still favoring the bulls a little bit. Going into Microsoft, this looks bullish to me because of the fact that, first off, we got a nice balance of very important supports, very close to 285. This is where my support zone was. It actually bounced very close to it. And then what happened was this thing continued to pump. It looks to me like it's going to try to go for that gap fill and retest 292. So we might see tech actually pump a bit. Going into the QQQ, we have this gap right here. I think it came very close to filling it. We almost filled it. QQQ might slow down in the morning. It could even get a back test of the 50 EMA. And then if it bounces off of it, it could actually fight for 318 and maybe break to 320 if we see tech continue to pump. For the VIX, I want to note that the VIX has a big gap below down here. Maybe the VIX tries to balance, gets rejected off the 50 EMA, and then it starts tanking and tanking and tanking as the market continues to push up. The market pushing up could cause that, and then we might see the VIX stabilize in the very low 18s. And this would not be the best of places for the market because we're getting very close to CPI. If the VIX closes at these very low levels right before a CPI report, I would be very cautious because everything could change off a very hot report, which is still very possible. So I'd be very, very cautious. Like I said, I'm going to be securing most of my profits tomorrow, if not all of them. And I just want to warn everyone, it's very important to manage risks during times like this. Looking at Amazon, Amazon came very close to filling this gap. Amazon looks to me like we got a nice balance, very, very nice looking wick right here. It might try to push for 104 going into tomorrow. The video was strong today, just continued to rally as the day went on. If it keeps going, 280 could come pretty fast. I think it's going to slow down in the morning and then try to keep going. And then we're going to react to CPI after that. Apple looks bullish to me. I think Apple will most likely try to go for the gap fill around this 164 area going into tomorrow. And I believe Apple could help pump SPY and QQQ tomorrow. It's a big giant. It does have a big effect, lots of weight in the markets. And I believe the odds favor maybe a little bit more upside before we make a big move. But I want to warn everyone, right? It's not a bad idea to secure profits, not financial advice, by the way. Secure profits and just get ready because, like I said before, the market's risky going into CPI on Wednesday. 10-year Treasury yield has a gap below. I don't know if this thing is going to come down to fill this gap and then try to bounce, but if it does come down to fill this gap, that's going to be bullish for the stock market, right? The dollar, it's starting to break out a little bit. We need more confirmation first. It's still only at 102.5. If it breaks below this, then we're going to be watching 102. I'm thinking the dollar is going to just chop around for a bit, but then overall, it could be getting set for a breakout, a bullish breakout very soon. This is once again concerning me as we approach CPI. This is making me think that maybe the market, tries to push up tomorrow. Maybe the VIX, and not just the VIX, also the dollar slows down a little bit, and then CPI comes out and we get this bullish breakout as we are getting a crossover right here on the MACD and the signal line. That tells me right now, all right, I'm going to be very, very cautious as we approach CPI, right? Seeing the dollar, it may be ready to break out soon. I would be very, very cautious. I'd be very careful. But until then, like I said, the market's likely going to hold up tomorrow. I don't really see the market crashing unless there's a really bad piece of news. So far, I'm not seeing it. And I do believe there is still more room for upside going into tomorrow for SPY and also for Tesla. All right, so thank you all so much for listening. Please remain calm, cool, and collected, and I'll most definitely see you guys in the next one. Tesla to the moon, because the long-term future is still incredibly bright. And peace out.